after Hurricane I had bought a marina in 2 other sites, and my marina got wiped off the face of the earth. I lost my wife to postpartum depression 45 days after Hurricane Ike. The SBA said they were help, and no one helped, and the stress got to her, and she had postpartum depression, and we had post-traumatic stress, and I lost her to postpartum depression, and that's the nicest way to say it. And that even pushed me more on my green path, my sustainable path, because climate change is real. We have to be prepared for it. What I'm doing right now, I mean, I was doing design build on high rises on the waterfront by the Johnson Space Center. And I went through the whole design build process, and here comes Hurricane Ike, washes our shit away. So sustainability, being off the grid living is important to me, because it wasn't the hurricane that got her. It was the stress of being in an area that had been wiped out. I mean, literally a 20-foot storm surge came through our marina on Clear Lake. And, and she left me with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. So I began to write about sustainability. My in-laws bribed me to move back to California, and, which I did. But sustainability was dear to my mom, being an environmentalist, being a good steward of the land. So now I'm in the process of acquiring a construction company that has resilient, fortified, sustainable homes made out of cement infused with graphene.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Garson Silvers, is a real estate broker and investor who's now looking at investments that have a social conscious component to them. Garson, welcome to the show.
Good morning. How you doing?
It's great to have you on here. I'm doing well. Thank you for coming on the show here today. I always like to start off at the top by asking guests, how they got into real estate.
Well, let's go to the beginning. My stepfather had a management company and was doing apartments in Houston, Texas. And I actually, even before then, at a high school career opportunity thing, a broker came and was talking to the class. And I went to a special school that was kind of like Montessori, work at your own pace, kind of for, I won't say bad kids, but kids hard to handle. And, and I worked at my father's restaurant and grew up in the wine business. And this broker came in, and I was working at my father's restaurant at that time. So I'd go to work before school. I'd get out of school early and go work in the kitchen. And this guy came in, he says, hey, I can work whenever I want. I make my own schedule, and, I make big money at a time, and, everybody needs a place to live. And I'm like, okay, that sounds smart. So I started, and I finished high school half a year early because it was kind of like a Montessori school. And my mom was teaching at that time at Houston Community College. So I figured I'll take a real estate class. And I took a real estate class, and it was at night school, and it was a couple nights a week. And this isn't bad. So I went up to college at a place called Southwest Texas State University. And it was in San Marcos, Texas, between Austin and San Antonio.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
And the first house I bought was on a river, and it was on the Blanco River. We had a beautiful rope swing in the backyard. And I figured, because my grandparents had left me a little bit to go to college on, and I didn't want to, I think I spent one semester in the dorm, and I didn't like this communal living too much. It was the jokes and the smells, and in Texas they would go deer hunting and slaughtered in the showers.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So we went in, I talked my mother and stepfather into buying a house so we wouldn't be throwing the money away on rent. And it was a half acre on the Blanco River with a rope swing and a deep swimming hole there, and it was paradise.
I want to ask you actually a question about that property, if I may. So going to school at what is now Texas State, right?
Yeah, Texas State University.
You had the idea, hey, let's not throw away the money on rent. I've said this to many people that if you're going to be living in, this metro or outside of a metro, wherever you're going to school, you're going to be there for 4 or 5 years, even if you're there 3 years, right?
I was there 6 years.
Yeah,
so yes.
You were there 6 years. Chances are you're going to see the property that you're in appreciate. Now, there's no guarantee, but over a 5-year period, if you're in a area, outside of a major metro or in a major metro, you have a good likelihood that your property is going to appreciate. I'm surprised more people don't look at this because you're going to be spending so much money on rent.
I was able to talk most of my friends' parents into buying houses.
Yeah.
I had my license. I got a job working for a property management company there named Skiles, and he's still there. And, sometimes I think it would have been a much more simpler life if I would have stayed there. But Skiles ran all the apartments, so I got to lease apartments and meet everybody, in the beginning of the year. And I made enough money during that lease-up period, like the month before school started, to, carry me through a lot of the times.
Do you know, Garson, if they had the outlets in San Marcos then, or was that years later?
No, they built those about the time I was leaving.
Okay,
the outlet malls, yeah.
What was San Marcos like then? Was it very rural?
It was a nice, quiet college town. The college was the main business. And, it was just, it was great. And people, you go floating on the river in inner tubes, and we could go floating right up to behind our house on the Blanco. You had the Blanco and the San Marcos River, which were both just pristine at that time. That was, back in the 80s. And where I lived was kind of rural. My property was on River Road, and there was nothing out there. There's maybe a dozen or two homes. And they had Jerry Job Corps across the river from us at the old Camp Gary. It was really a nice life. It was a wonderful journey, and I got really in tune with nature there because I had my little half acre on the river, and I was a steward. And later on, I learned, actually, I heard that comment several times in my career, that we really don't own anything. It's the banks, it's the government. You pay taxes, you pay, your mortgage. And so we're just stewards of a land. And we pay to be that steward. Some people are lucky enough to pay their things off, but for the most part, so I had this beautiful river property, and we had like a giant catfish that lived under the cypress tree where the rope swing was. And, we could catch them and eat them, but, we kept them as a friend.
I want to.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
I want to ask you about real estate being a focal point, and at what point in time did you decide, hey, this is what I'm going to do with my life? Did you know when you were at?
I know when I went to college, that's what I wanted to do with my life. I had two opportunities when I went to college. I was real good in math, and I could have gone to UT and been an aerospace engineer, but I couldn't find an apartment. And that was one of the key turning points. There wasn't enough apartments in Austin, places to rent to accommodate a place to stay. And so I decided to go to Southwest Texas, and my stepfather was into real estate. I'd already been, my parents had rental properties, and I'd fix seats and, bathroom showers so it wouldn't leak, and learn how to try to keep it a sustainable business, because if your water bill gets out of hand or whatever, you got to be on top of things. So I learned some simple trades going up. And actually, I walked onto my first construction site when I was 15. I went and bought a tool belt and a hammer, and they were building some homes in Houston near my 2 blocks away. And I said, I'll go get a job as a helper. And so I'd learned something. I kind of knew, it's I can go back even a little farther. One of my my Aunt Diane married a man named Joe Ravage, who was I think he was an architect and then became a developer in New York. And I remember he helped me build a log cabin once, and I had all the toys. You had the Lincoln logs, you had the erector sets, you had the Legos. So I grew up with some of that. And I like building, and I like creating. And so the earth, if we're a good steward and or have a little bit of artistic skills, it's a great canvas to create your own life or reality.
Right. I want to pivot a bit here, Garson, and ask you about moving out to Beverly Hills, right? So I imagine there was some steps along the way before that happened. But after you got out of school, first 10, 15 years...
I moved here before I got out of school. It's kind of a good story, yeah.
Yeah.
Southwest Texas, it was a very fun life. There was a great ratio of girls to guys. And when I was 23, I think I was in my 3rd or 4th year there, I got married. And so that was part of it. And then my father had moved out here. He had been in the wine business most of his career, and he had a backer that owned a savings and loan, Mercury Milam, a J.B. Harrelson. And J.B. moved him out here to be a consultant on buying vineyards. So I had about one more, and in between them, while I was in college, I did get my broker's license. I worked for Skiles most of the time, but one of my uncles introduced me to a wildcatter who was an oil man. And he was a young guy. He was about 28. I was 19 at the time. I stayed out of college a year, and that's why I said I was up there 6 years. We ended up putting my sister and her husband into my river house, and I went to work for Jeff and I was like his gopher or his right hand. I went and found a ranch for him because this guy had struck a bunch of oil wells in a row, and he was an architect actually. He went to Texas A&M, became an architect, and my uncle met him on an airplane, and he needed a guide to Houston, and I got a job because he was moving his business from Midland, Odessa to Houston, Texas. And he needed someone who could, be his guide to the city. And it was, just fate that here I am, 19 years old. I get a job working for a guy who's 28 years old, who's like J.E. Carter, Jed Clampett. He'd made his money hitting oil in the Austin Chalk. And, I helped him buy a ranch. Oh, boom, big money. And what else did I do for him? We office space, and he had me proofreading drilling leases. And then I started doing like landman work. I went out to farmers and talked them into letting us come explore their ground. So we'd make a deal. They'd do, give them a little land bonus. I think it was like $500 an acre, and they get an eighth or a 16th or something like that royalty, and they get paid, and we'd have to put it back the way it was. And that was a very important thing I learned.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
You can go in and drill on someone's farm or ranch. You put it back the way you found it, unless you find them oil, in which we did. I mean, Jeff hit like 28 wells, and we'd have to put tanks on it, and a little bit of road, and you always had to make a pond that collected all the shitty material, the contaminants, and we'd usually put a lining down so it wouldn't leach into the soil. And sometimes I'd get to run out there when they'd hit a well, or I'd take them out drilling bits from Houston, because San Marcos, most of the wells he hit were in what's called the Austin Chalk, which was in like Gonzales and Goliad and Schulenburg and that Central Texas region. So I got to learn that part of real estate. I got to drive down these old dirt roads to find farms and ranches to go talk to people. And I'd have to go to the old county seats before they had all this electronic title work. And you'd meet the county clerks and say, I want to find out this property, and this property's offsetting it. And how do I find this neighbor? And it was all down at the county courthouses.
Was there one segment of real estate that you were particularly focused on, or were you working across, multiple?
Well, the main thing that's always paid me is leasing, whether it was leasing apartments in college or properties, or and then while I was leasing, Texas was booming. It was the oil thing. So guess who got to go do due diligence for developers?
Was you?
Yeah, I'd find them the sites. I'd make sure it was entitled. Go through the whole process, and that was my big sell. That was the mammoth. But while I was chasing those big mammoth development deals, I had to eat, so we had to catch rabbits, and those were leasing the apartments. I'd make anywhere from a half to a month's rent when I leased out an apartment. Or so I ate well, and but sometimes near the end of the semester, I'd have to go start delivering pizzas because I wasn't leasing any apartments.
There's no more
apartments. And I didn't manage my money right. I spent it as I made it, made it. But it was a good life. And, also during that time, you take what you can get when you're in college. So this one, I ended up working for this guy who worked for his brother, and his brother would buy ranches and subdivide them into little ranchettes that they'd put trailers on surrounding San Marcos. So I learned to work heavy equipment. I learned about subdivisions. I learned about some water rights and wells. And, you could have 5 people on one well. And if you went over 5, and you got to, go get permits from the Texas Department of Natural Resources, or, so I learned from everyone. I just kind of sucked it in. Trying to, I wanted to learn about real estate, and that was really my goal. So I got to learn about helping developers build apartments. I got to learn about helping developers subdivide land into smaller, parcels and then sell it and finance it. And I moved from what got me moved from I'm trying to be politically correct here. From San Marcos to Beverly Hills, as my father was out here in California, had about a semester, about a semester to go. I was already on an extended plan because I'd quit work in the middle or quit college in the middle to go work for the oil man. Oh, and the oil man sent me to Australia for 3 months. I imported 5 drilling rigs to Australia. And the biggest thing on TV was Dallas. I was working, J.R. Ewing. I'm working for a guy named J.E. Carter. And I made application to import 5 drilling rigs. And at the time, there was only 19 drilling rigs on the continent. So I was in high demand. I mean, I was getting romanced by banks and mineral exploration companies and whoever was in the land business wanted, those drilling rigs. And at that time, you had to make a 51% ownership deal with Australia.
Nope.
You had to partner with their locals. You just could. They were keeping the big boys out. And
Wow.
so I went there and I was cutting deals and wearing my suit and my cowboy boots and met all kinds of beautiful women. Then I went back to college. And
It's tough to go back after that.
Oh, it was, but the guy I worked for sold out to United Camso. And I got to meet Leon Jaworski from Watergate fame because I think he was representing the guy I worked for or United Camso. I don't remember which thing, but, I got to be the fly on the wall and see that deal negotiated.
Yeah, amazing.
And they were real happy to buy him out because of his oil wells that he had flowing, and also because of the deals I struck in Canada because they wanted to get into that market. So it was all, the grace of God and divine providence. And I went back to school and I had money at school. So that was a fun thing. And I had a house. I moved into my sister because she'd been living in the river house with her husband. And I say there was a big women to men ratio there, and I had a good time. And we'd have big parties in the backyard.
No, you didn't.
What?
You didn't miss Australia too much, is what you're saying.
Oh, I did. And Australia was one of the greatest adventures of my life. The Bank of Western Australia had a big luncheon for the American Sixth Fleet, and they gave me a better seat than the Admiral, and they set me next to Miss Universe. So,
That'll make anybody miss Australia. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, oh, wow, this is very cool. And the people were very nice to me because, I had my Texas accent going. And I had guys that would shut down their surf shop to take me surfing when they found out I was from Texas. Let's take you. Yeah, come on. Yeah. It's like, you're shutting down your business to go surfing with me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
it was quite the life. It was quite the adventure, the
Now,
journey.
Garson,
But it always had real estate in it.
we are coming up on time here. I do want to ask you. I know you're involved in so much now with a social conscious component. How can folks learn more about what you're doing these days? How could they reach out to you or your team?
Okay, real quickly, short story. After Hurricane I had bought a marina and 2 other sites, and my marina got wiped off the face of the earth. I lost my wife to postpartum depression 45 days after Hurricane Ike. The SBA said they were help, and no one helped, and the stress got to her, and she had postpartum depression, and we had post-traumatic stress, and I lost her to postpartum depression, and that's the nicest way to say it. And that even pushed me more on my green path, my sustainable path, because climate change is real. We have to be prepared for it. What I'm doing right now, I was doing design build on high rises on the waterfront by the Johnson Space Center. And I went through the whole design build process, and here comes Hurricane Ike, washes our shit away. So sustainability, being off the grid living is important to me because it wasn't the hurricane that got her. It was the stress of being in an area that had been wiped out. Literally a 20-foot storm surge came through our marina on Clear Lake. And, and she left me with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. So I began to write about sustainability. My in-laws bribed me to move back to California, and, which I did. But sustainability was dear to my mom, being an environmentalist, being a good steward of the land. Uh, So now I'm in the process of acquiring a construction company that has resilient, fortified, sustainable homes made out of cement infused with graphene. And when you put graphene in cement, it makes it 20% lighter, 100% stronger, and every square foot of it can hold between 3 to 7 kilowatts. I've had it under contract for a while, been negotiating it. I got contracts in Dominican Republic. We can go exercise through a contractor friend of mine, Craig Danto. About 600 homes currently that we can go build in Puerto Rico. Out here in LA, you had 18,000 homes destroyed by the fires. This is CAL Fire approved. CAL Fire approved. That's very important. The buildings that made it through the fires in the Palisades were Tom Hanks's home, a synagogue, both made of concrete. So that's the way to go. Whether it's 3D printing or the PermaStrong form system, I can make a house look like whatever I want with cement and with the system I have. I can make it look like wood panels. I can make it look like brick. I can make it look like cobblestone or stucco. But it still has that resilient, fortified aspect of being cement fiberboard forms that stay in place that are infused with graphene. Allure, I think, is the company that makes, Elementra is the company that makes the panels for us. And then there's a special coupling spacer that you put the rebar in, and you put your conduit and your plumbing through. And you can do a concrete roof, or you can do pre-engineered wood or steel trusses for your roof. But the main thing is you got to be fireproof. And these are also earthquake proof. You can't say proof, resistant.
Yeah.
It's a resistance. And then these have been tested for Cat 5 or Dade County approved. They're state of Florida building approved, building code approved. They've been tested in Texas Tech wind tunnels for F4 and F5 tornadoes. Even, with being close to Cuba, what is it called? The Havana syndrome, EMPs won't go through the walls with graphene in it.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, you still have your openings, your glass doors, your door, your doors and whatnot. But, you got to have resilient, fortified homes, and they got to be off the grid, because that's why I lost my wife to suicide, was the stress of dealing with the calamity after the catastrophe.
Yeah, it just goes on and on.
So that's really my passion. And then my other passion, and I have a deal going right now with a company called My Mushroom. And this is like a full circle story. The first property, not the first, but I was in a partnership. I went from doing homes in Beverly Hills and working with developers and commercial leasing. My first wife she got tired of me in LA. And so she moved to Houston with my children. So I moved back to Houston, and I worked for a guy who had one time probably the paper or contract for deeds on 40,000 homes in Houston, all in the hood. And I got him into doing junk commercial property because I didn't like dealing with that level of residential.
Yeah.
And I bought a farm from the federal marshal, and the farm had been taken, and it was in Tomball, Texas. And in order to get a conventional loan on it, I had to loan first with Jack, and it wasn't a conventional loan. He was a hard money guy. I got a loan from B of A, and B of A would not take more than 10 acres worth of house. So I had to divide off 4 acres, and I called it Mushroom Enterprises because it was kind of swampy up there in Tomball. But right now I'm dealing with a company called Mushroom, and they have mushrooms. They grow them in a clean room lab that help your cell-to-cell communication and has your body make their own stem cells.
No kidding.
And so it can help people through nutrition overcome diseases like cancer, diabetes, and things like that. And actually, I'm using them now, and they've helped with. I'm diabetic. The neuropathy in my hands has gone away. and I've been doing them for about 2 months. And the way I met with them was through another doctor out here, and they want to build a 200,000 square foot clean room grow facility on my property.
Wow.
The reason Dr. Vaughn put us together was I had a plan to do climate control greenhouses with hydroponic grow towers in it. And I've been working on that for a while because I want to feed people. I've done a lot of work in India. I'm published in books like the Global Sustainable Community Handbook. I sit on Beverly Hills Technology Committee when it was active. Hasn't been active lately, which is sad because they have a lot of technology here. But we have homes we've designed, me and my partner, Navid Joffrey, that are off the grid. They're like ADUs. You know what an ADU is? Additional dwelling unit. We call them ZMUs, and these are off the grid housing that you can put in the middle of the field and you're good to go.
Wow.
They make their own water. They make their own electricity. They have water management systems where nothing's wasted. And we were making those in India, and I've done. The real estate journey has taken me a lot of places, which doesn't make a lot of sense because I learned to own your block or own your area, like San Marcos, or when I did commercial office leasing in Beverly Hills. And I came here because my wife didn't like being in San Marcos because I had too many old girlfriends there.
Hey, that happens.
So, we came out to California, and I was helping my dad for a little bit find vineyards for J.B. Harrison, who had a mortgage company. And I got a friend of mine a job doing, the packaging of mortgages into HUD bonds, or to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac bonds. So I got to learn that aspect of real estate, the back end of real estate, of the secondary market of notes. And I applied, and I got a job from a guy at a company called Buckeye. Buckeye owned about 14 buildings in Beverly Hills, 2 in West Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, and 1 downtown, and 4 in the Valley, medical buildings. And I was their in-house leasing guy. And I competed with this one woman, Marja Dean, an old actress she got to take the calls, and I had to go out canvassing. So I got thrown out of the best buildings in Beverly Hills canvassing. You couldn't do that job today because of all the electronics and security. But back then, I got to meet all kinds of people. I met doctors. I met people in the entertainment business. I met titans of industry, Beverly Hills. And, Donald Sterling was one of our tenants. Yeah, Don Cornelius was one of my tenants. Danny DeVito and Michael Douglas, when they were doing their, Tale of a, Stone or whatever it was, movies. I got to meet all kinds of people. Art Linkletter, Sammy Davis, Kurt Vonnegut.
That could happen in Beverly Hills, right?
Yeah. Ray Bradbury. I'd wander into their office. You never know whose office you were wandering into. So I met all these really accomplished people. L. Ron Hubbard's daughter. You just never knew. All different types of people. So I got to meet all these people, and I'd wander in and talk to them. And I had, they didn't like my Texas accent too much. They told me to lose the accent. I'd go, "What accent?" And
that's right.
So all this has gone into what makes me today. And my thing I really love is alternative energy. And, I say the drilling business was a little bit of my dark age because that wasn't we tried to be as good a steward as we can. But I have a dear friend, Al Moyer, who's building solar farms in the Central Valley here. So, and I've helped him with that. And that's real estate too, because you got to find the right land. You got to have right interconnects. You got to have the right electricity, and so right now, everything I do has to have a social conscious purpose. Okay, making the world a better place, making the world, I get job offers too, and, a lot of them want to do green development. And I'm kind of an expert. I've built a sustainable micro township in India. Here you'd call it a planned urban development mixed with a spiritual retreat. There it's a sustainable micro township, and the business is medical and spiritual healing.
Wow.
So I've done everything you can imagine in real estate, which is good for someone who's a little AD. I know how to juggle 4 or 5 deals at a time. And that's what was taught to me by Ray Kaufman, who was a great guy who ran Buckeye to a certain extent. There was also George Conheim and Bram Goldsmith, who started City National Bank, who were also the founders of Buckeye.
Right.
Herb Schaefer was the accountant. He was kind of hard to deal with. And Dick Jample was the architect. But these guys, they were my mentors, man. They taught me. And I learned and sucked it in like a sponge. And, and I butted heads with them too, because, I'm brutally honest. And in the 45 years of real estate, I've never been sued for any deal I've been involved in. Now,
Hey,
I've been thought,
great. Yeah.
I've been sued on fighting the big banks on properties I owned in Houston when my wife committed suicide, and we had borrowers protection insurance, and B of A just didn't want to acknowledge that, and then they sold it off to someone and sold it off to someone, and I still have my farm. After 17 years, they haven't been able to take it from me.
Garson, we are coming up on time here. I want to thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for sharing your story. And then also, what an amazing, really career in the real estate space. Everything from, San Marcos and that first property when you were at school to these international deals, to then all the amazing people that you got to meet out there in your neck of the woods. But thank you.
I come back to Houston too. I have projects in the hood. I try to keep my roots planted there. And we're going to grow over mushrooms on the farm, which will save people's lives. It's real estate. You never know where it's going to lead you, because you got to learn a little bit about everybody's business you're working for.
That's right. Thank you, Garson.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.